What is up, guys? You're tuning into Midiem, the podcast for dancers, where we draw insights and stories from the world's leading industry professionals, helping you to navigate the territory of the dance world whilst inspiring mastery of the craft. Today I'm chatting with Paige Shand, who's a professional dancer and performer currently with the Crazy Horse Cabaret in Paris. Prior to that, she was dancing with the Black Grace Dance Company in Auckland, New Zealand, and she trained at the New Zealand School of Dance in Wellington. I'm super pumped for you guys to hear what Paige has to say today. And if you enjoy the show, please like and subscribe, and we'll keep the videos and content coming. Let's get into it.
So I grew up in Wellington, New Zealand, dancing, just the local everyday school, ballet, whatever, every day after school kind of thing. And then I kind of discovered contemporary dance when I joined the junior associate program at the New Zealand School of Dance. And that's when my mind just kind of went, whoa, what is this dance style? What is this? Can I do it? I decided to look into it a bit further. I then auditioned for the New Zealand School of Dance, got in as a contemporary major, and that's basically when my dance career started. So after New Zealand School of Dance, I went and I worked with multiple different dance companies around New Zealand, one in Australia, but mainly just sticking it out in New Zealand. And then I joined Black Grace Dance Company, and I was with them for roughly about, I think it was 2.5 years, which was fantastic. I got to tour with them, and it was just awesome. And then I just had this thing, I don't know, I just decided that it was almost that contemporary just wasn't, I was missing something. I was missing some sort of performance element to what I wanted, what I desired in my career. And that's when I discovered more cabaret, burlesque style of movement and performance. And then that's when I kind of discovered the Crazy Horse, and I was like, what is this place? Like, it's amazing, but it's just like a little bit too far in my reach. Like, I feel like, Paris and New Zealand, they're just two completely different places. And like, how the hell am I going to get over there? Is that even possible? Anyway, it's a long story, but I just sent some random messages. I called the offices where you book tickets, got some information, and made my way over, auditioned, and then now I'm suddenly living here.
And it must have been a massive shift, going from contemporary world and, beginning in school with contemporary dance and then shifting into cabaret. Like, it must have been quite a shock for, your body and just
Mhm.
the change of environment.
Yeah, well, you go from, I guess, dancing where, like, contemporary dance, I feel like a lot of it is with the floor, with the earth. So you're really, your body and the ground are kind of one. And then all of a sudden, I'm like in 8-inch heels, kicking my legs and, lip syncing and doing all this kind of style. But I mean, to be fair, though, I don't think it was that much of a shock. I think my classical and contemporary training kind of gave me a bit of a I don't know. It gave me something where I think moving to this genre of dance. I mean, it wasn't like it was easy, but there was definitely I definitely had strength in certain aspects that helped me kind of have a smooth transition. Um,
Mm.
so I'm really grateful for that kind of history and background that I came from. But
Mm.
yeah,
And
definitely.
have you always had ambitions to take your dance career overseas?
Always. I think from day dot, I don't. I think even when I joined the New Zealand School of Dance, I always had it in me that I wanted to perform overseas. I think, for one, Europe has a very big arts audience. So, New Zealand's still growing. We have an audience, but in comparison to Europe, and it's just, it's huge. You're gonna go, there's a show on every night here. You can just walk down the road and you can go see some form of art. And so I guess I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to witness it, and I wanted to be able to perform. Like, I get to perform basically every night, and I think that was probably the difference. And for me with contemporary, I mean, I do love the creative process, but I always struggled with the fact that it was kind of like 6+ months creating something and then only like 2 weeks performing it, and that's just kind of how that world works. Um, so I was kind of like, I just want to perform. Like, I just want to be on stage. It's where I'm most comfortable, and Europe can give me that. And so yeah, I was always definitely wanting to check it out.
Yeah, cool. And do you get any autonomy over the movement that you do in a choreographic sense as you would in a contemporary setting? Do you have that kind of artistic, I guess, license in what you're doing there?
Yes and no. The show itself, it's a set show that's been going on, I think, for 3 well, minus the obviously the year off with the pandemic. But
Yeah.
the great thing about it is that there's multiple different solos and numbers, and within each solo, yes, it's a set song. There's usually kind of set choreography. However, we do have the license to kind of bring our own personality and style and all that kind of stuff to our performance. So when we do kind of go through the creating process of learning something new, we're very lucky to be able to work with another former dancer of the Crazy Horse that provides, I guess, like your voice to be heard, and you can play. So yeah, there's definitely, I think it's enough for me. Like I said, like creating things is what I like, but if it's in like a short period of time of creating something, then I'm like, I can go all for it, and I'm like, yes, let's do this. When it's like extended, I'm like, okay, I'm just ready. Like, let's go.
Yeah, cool.
It's just me, but yeah, I do get to have that, which is cool.
Mm.
Yeah.
And how does the reality of the situation, living so far away from home and living in Paris, how does the reality of it live up to the kind of dream and ambition that you had in your head as a younger person?
I mean, I guess it definitely does live up to it in some aspects. I think it's hard coming from a place like New Zealand where you're surrounded by so much nature and the ocean, and I think Kiwis just have a certain kind of humor and a certain kind of banter that we, like if you're going for a run, everyone will always say hi. Like it's just kind of how it works. So I think, yeah, the only thing for me is just kind of understanding and finding my own ground here with not having the beach on my doorstep, or not being able to kind of just go down the road and have a conversation with someone because they speak French. And again, it's just like a different kind of sense of humor too. So it definitely does live up. Like every day I get out the metro station to go to work, the Eiffel Tower's right there, and still I've been here for a few years now, and I'll still basically always take a picture. Like I haven't quite processed that it's kind of an everyday thing for me. Um, and I think Paris itself, like if I was to live, like looking back, if I wanted to live and move overseas, like Paris is going to hit you with that kind of different culture. Like you want to change, you want difference, it's going to give you that. Like it's very different, and I do love it, but I do really miss the kind of, yeah, nature side.
And,
That's the only
and
thing.
what's something that you do like daily to kind of ground yourself in, in your routine, or what's your 9 to 5 and kind of typical structure that keeps you kind of on track?
Keeps me going. 9 to 5, depending on when I finish work, because it's usually quite late. I usually get up at around 11, so basically my nights and days just kind of shift over. So instead of starting at 7 or 8, they start at 11-ish, 10 to 11. But usually I just kind of get up. We have like a local cafe that we go to, literally just down the road. So we usually just kind of go there, have a coffee, do some work, whatever. Finding your own locals is what's kind of grounded me a lot. Finding like my comfort places that feel great. Yeah, so kind of go there, and then I like to hit the gym. So the gym is kind of like the place where, I don't know, I guess it's that thing, right? Every gym's the same in anywhere you go as well. So I think kind of having that physical side, that's not just dance, really, like, I love it. So yeah, so then it's just kind of like the gym, come home. Usually by then it's like around 5-ish, have a break, head to work, and then and then the whole night happens. So
And how do you continue to develop your like technical abilities and I guess like mental development of dance in a different genre that strays away from what you were trained in at a tertiary level?
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess firstly, kind of like what I said, Europe, like there's a show every night. So I think for me, like I learn a lot just from watching. So I can just go down to wherever and go and see a show of some sort, and that already kind of gives me that kind of mental stimulation and stuff that kind of improves me on stage as well, because I feel like I don't just need to watch cabaret to help myself, feel better dancing cabaret or whatever. I think it comes from watching multiple different styles and different performances and seeing how other people kind of perform and what they do to, say, engage with the audience and that kind of thing. When it does come to cabaret and I want to kind of learn a bit more about that and how it can help me. There's just such a rich history with cabaret dance. Like it just literally dates back so far, and there's just so much like cabaret burlesque. It's kind of a style, I guess, like contemporary that keeps developing, but also it can kind of also be anything. Like yes, there's also like strict things, but it's not like ballet where there's like a technique. It's kind of like, I guess, yeah, a style that you can basically do anything with it. So I don't know. I just go back and I watch old YouTube videos of people like just walking or like
Yeah, okay.
you know
Yeah.
doing that kind of stuff, because even walking in a certain style is a lot. You can
Mm.
learn a lot from that. But
So it's relatively free in the sense that you can like draw on different influences and inspirations to like
yeah,
incorporate into it.
but yeah, 100%. Even images, pictures of people, you can draw a lot. Cabaret is a lot about the body, and it's a lot about the silhouette shapes and even how to hold yourself. Like you can just get that from an image, and there's a lot out there to find and explore. So yeah.
And in terms of your career, where you're at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
do you have aspirations to take things further, or are you comfortable at the moment with just sussing out where you are and
Mm.
kind of seeing where it goes?
That's a really good question. I think I'm pretty happy. And I mean, as a dancer and an artist, like I don't want to say that I've reached the end. Like I'm just good.
Yeah,
This
I've
is
made it.
I've made it, because there's always more to find, and you never
Yeah,
know, like what I don't know what will happen. Um, but for me, like with this particular company, I guess within the company, there's certain things that I want to achieve, like certain solos or things that I want to perform, or when the world opens up a bit more, tour with them and that kind of thing. But I don't know. I think it's just such a hard company to get into, and to get into it is, I mean, I still like pinch myself a little bit. I know that sounds a bit corny, but I don't know. Like I feel like I still feel quite new. I still feel quite fresh here, and I do plan on kind of staying here and fulfilling the dreams I have within this company. And to be honest, I'm not really looking any further than that at the moment. I guess the thing with cabaret and with what I do, a lot of it depends on how your body's feeling and looking as well, because like I said, like a lot of it has to do with the body.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm really happy. I'm pretty content where I am. Like there's just a lot to do within this place, and I think for now that's my focus. I think anything after will be back home in New Zealand, or
Yeah.
yeah.
What advice would you give to your younger self, kind of contemplating
Hmm.
what's to come in the future and how to get there?
Yeah. Okay, so with this question, because I read over this particular question and I kind of said, I don't know. Like, I honestly think, because you say you want to kind of say to your younger self, I guess, like dream big and just like go for it. And
Yeah, exactly.
I
Work
think,
hard.
yeah, like
Listen
work
to
hard. Like, I think
yeah.
I'm kind of a person who's already like that. Like I
Mm,
kind of just take chances. I kind of like just go for things, and I don't really, if there's disappointment that happens out of a thing, then okay, I learn from it and then move on. Um, I guess Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's actually more about just like everyday life and just like, learning that to be open-minded about where you are and what you are and learn as much as you can, I guess, from different cultures and stuff like that.
I just want to backtrack for a sec because I think it's interesting what you just said,
Mm-hmm.
um, around just like brushing things off in terms of like moving forward. Like, what is that mindset? What is that kind of internal process that you go through in terms of actually like overcoming certain challenges and then having the capacity to continue forward without getting bogged down
Mm,
in like the
mm.
conflicts or things that might be happening at the time.
Yeah. I guess as dancers, what we have to tell ourselves is that dance and a career in dance, it's hard work. And until I think, when you're studying dance or you're trying to make it in dance, until you kind of understand that and tell your own personal self that, then I think things will hit off because you've established that, okay, this is the career, this is where I'm at, and it's difficult. And I think young people, young as if I'm really old, but people that are still studying kind of, they just go for the jobs and they go, right, this is where I'm going, like this is what's going to happen. But in dance, you actually can't really say that because dance is just so dependent on time, place, like what people are looking for. And so yeah, I guess when I told myself that it's difficult, Paige, like what you're doing, it's difficult. Like you know that you're taking on like a big thing, a big career. Um, Shit happens. Like once I kind of knew that and understood that, then those kind of blows of say not getting a job or being in a job that's say difficult or whatever, um, I guess I have more understanding for it. One thing I miss a lot is being in the studio
Mm.
and just kind of like mucking around and just doing that,
Jamming out.
jamming out, but like having people that kind of just jam out with you, like
Yeah, yeah.
just go like that. I think sometimes like a highlight for me is just kind of going in and just jamming in the
Mm.
studio and kind of seeing what happens.
Do you
Um,
have that same sense of community in Paris with your work now, or is it slightly different?
definitely different. It's not like
Mm.
a studio kind of atmosphere. It's more like our atmosphere is kind of created in the dressing rooms because we see each other, we perform, we maybe have one rehearsal a week, if that. So it's just a different, like the energy and the atmosphere has switched to kind of more side stage, on stage.
You guys don't do any kind of training together or like fitness training or technical training?
No, so we do all our training ourselves. We do have
Yeah.
rehearsals and stuff like that, so that general rehearsals we kind of just come and we, yeah, I guess go through
Mm.
the show bit by bit, break it down and
Yeah.
notes, that kind of thing. But when you do it every night, we've got some girls that have been there for like 17 years.
Mm.
So the show, it's just kind of like, okay, how can you make it better or
Yeah.
what can you do to
So the responsibility is like solely on you to stay fit and stay in shape.
100%,
Yeah.
100%, yeah. And like it is a lot about the body, so it's like, how do I find a way, because I mean, me personally, like personal, I find it difficult to go on stage having like, if I sounds really intense, but if I have like a big meal beforehand,
Mm. Mm.
I find it hard, not
Mm.
looks wise, but I just feel like, oh, like groggy. As
Yeah.
I'm sure you might as well. Like when you go on stage and perform, it's like you don't. I don't like to eat like a massive meal beforehand.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I feel like I can't dance properly. But then it's
Mm.
like figuring out my own routine through that, because if I'm doing this every night, I have to eat. Like I love food.
Mm.
How do I
Mm.
kind of work it so that I don't feel like bogged down? And then I
Mm.
guess that comes in with like learning about nutrition and healthy habits and like what fitness thing works so that I have lots of
Mm.
energy for the nights and also energy in the mornings. And yeah, it's like a whole routine that I'm, even after like a year and a bit now, I'm still definitely learning.
Mm. And how do you navigate mentally as well as physically the challenges that I guess the industry can sometimes put on you in terms of maintaining and upholding a certain self image or body image?
I guess, to be honest, like, sometimes I don't. Like, I think it's yeah, I think, again, like, it's hard sometimes mentally, and it's not just about, having to look good and going through that kind of whole mental thing, but it's like, how can I do this? But then also the times when you feel homesick and how do I kind of deal with all of that in one, and yeah. So I think sometimes I really don't. I think um, something that helps me though is kind of having things outside of work, like um, different kind of hobbies and things that kind of get my mind moving in a different way. And also because the body is, it's very much about how we look and stuff like that. Finding different ways of sport and stuff that kind of can, get me to where I need to be at work, but also again keep me stimulated, and not that I'm just working to look good on stage, but I'm trying, I'm looking good for myself, and um, all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. It's a hard question, because even like sometimes being a woman, like, it might be the time of the month, and you just don't want to go on stage. You just want to curl up in a ball, but you have to. So I think that's when community helps. Like, sometimes, having these going through your mind and thinking about this mentally, you can't fully do it by yourself. And I guess that is where I'm lucky that we do have a community of women that, we all go through this. Like, it's not just kind of one. Everyone has this particular problem, so you can kind of, if you're feeling a bit down,
Yeah,
you
rely
can.
on each other a bit.
Yeah, 100%. Like, even just for like a little bit of energy or anything like that,
Mm,
it definitely
mm.
helps. But I don't know. I think it sounds lame, but it's you kind of just got to be a bit positive on it as well. Like,
Mm, mm,
I it does sound really, be positive, blah 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 blah.
yeah.
But I think I always kind of look at where I am, and those times where maybe I do feel a bit further away from home, I know that luckily, like, I can get home if I need to.
Mm, mm.
Um, and yeah.
And is there a word of advice or something that someone has told you in, your life that you kind of come back to in
Mm.
difficult times or good times or
I think I personally have just quite like a intense kind of work ethic and mindset. So I don't know if you've seen this quote kind of sums it up a lot, but I don't know if you've seen the 14 Peaks movie about the man that conquered, like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So he says something, it's like, when you feel stuffed up, you're only about 45% stuffed.
yeah, yeah,
And I just love that, because I think it's so true. I think, the human body can kind of go through a lot more. A lot of it's mental. So if you kind of can meet the two together a little bit more, you can go like way further in life and career. And I think, yeah, I think that's kind of how I live.
Guys, thanks so much for tuning in today, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you did, please leave a comment below. Otherwise, get in touch on Instagram at Midiem Podcast and share any thoughts, ideas, or requests that you might have, because we'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks again, and see you soon.